All right, everyone, Supreme Kami over here. So I finally have time to do some alteration review for our latest build project, over here, Destiny Gundam. We do have 8 parts to kind of go over and just kind of talk about, is there any part that is worthy enough to, let's say, kind of pick up and whatnot. I do have to say that just any build project unit in terms of the stat wise, it's obviously going to be a lot more higher in terms of the inflation currently. This is going to be a lot more higher than what we currently have for in terms of Berserkais or Gundam Fest like banners and all that. But do keep that in mind, they are a little bit more expensive in terms of getting it because you are going to need 2 sets of materials. So that will cost you roughly about, let's say, 15,000, and then you also want to add in another 1,500 for the out batch that you would need in order to alter them over here. So that is quite an investment. I will have to say, if you are planning to get any of the build project stuff, I feel like going for the pilot is definitely the better option, just because of the fact that like any of the standard pilot currently, except for the 2021 swimsuit, like the swimsuit girls, like they're the only one that currently have like a standard alteration. But other than that, all the other pilots we are currently accustomed to does not have any. So the only current four that we have is these right here. So they do have their own alterations and all that, and they were quite good actually, but other than that, I feel like summoning for like this specific of any of these part right here, they can just get replaced like within a week or two actually. So that's why I just want to do some alteration review for these over here and just kind of talk about what kind of like other option do we have, right? Obviously, if you guys are taking a look at the spread right now, they are like a top of the line, so they're like just a little bit under the Burning Gundam, which I would feel like Burning Gundam is definitely deserved a pretty worthy one to be getting, just because it does have, let's say, mobile fighter. But if you're looking at Destiny itself, in terms of the war type wise, close combat, high firepower, and high mobility, all three of them are pretty generic mobile for, just say what, melee centric, war tech. So we definitely have a lot of options out there that are 10 times better than Destiny over here. So in terms of the head over here, definitely has some pretty high stats. So you guys do take a look. Every one of those ranking currently is going to be either 1 or 2 actually. So it's pretty high. In terms of the head, what it's actually doing, this one is going to be for this, like for all these words specifically, it is built towards running this on a one outfighter job lessons over here. So that's why when you have the active, initial charge boosted by 20%, as well when buffed melee power boosted by 35%. So this is a pretty generic war tech set that we have. Like if I filter out here, if I do, let's say, parts, head parts, and then I do cooldown, for example, we have quite a list here that I feel like, Big Justice, for example, Big Justice are probably the better candidate because this one's going to be big scale, but this one is going to be centric to a P attribute. We also do have like what double shield quantum, for example, running when high mobility, what EXQ power boosted by 35%, it's like we have tons of options out there already. Like I feel like going for this one specifically is like, why? Why would I want to go for something that's a little bit more expensive, right? These are definitely, if you guys did currently summon on the Ultra Step Up banner, you can definitely pick up one of these, right? If you guys wanted something, an option like that, we can even go down to, let's say, Justice Knight, for example. Same condition again, right? Output job lessons, that, and then as well as close combat, same thing. So I just want to go down the list with you guys. Like we do have a lot, right? So strictly going for like a build project, just purely going for stat wise over here, is probably going to be a wrong option for, I'm pretty sure, the majority of the player, because like getting what 15,000 hardships is not an easy job, and I feel like I'm spending it, like I said, on build project pilot is probably the better case scenario. All right, so moving on to the torso now. In terms of the torso, it's going to be second in place next to the God Gundam again, or yeah. So let me just do this for now, right? In terms of the torso, I feel like the torso is probably going to be another skip out for sure, just because of the fact that the portrait right here is going to be one of these, enemy what EXQ power reduced by 30%. I feel like tanking, or just kind of like, let's say a build revolving around enemy like power reduction type, is not anything too sufficient enough to just kind of tank anything, because like even if you have like what over 100%, or let me say 150% both shot and both melee, you will still die to like a normal custom EX skill. So that's why I feel like this game, having these right here does not really do too much to any build in general. I personally do have a like a enemy reduction build, and I could not right. So I feel like having these are just not good in general. If you guys do want to like try out these types of builds specifically, you can definitely go the standard version because there's just a lot more cheaper to kind of play around with. Or even go with like welfare parts. There's just tons more better options and just kind of easy to max out part trade. So this one probably not a good option to pick up the part in general, so probably not a good pickup at all. Do want to note that the armor is extremely high, 7,000, but not the highest we have seen obviously. Melee defense is definitely up there, but not the highest if I recall. So this all in all, in terms of the torso, is not a good part to pick up again. Alright, moving on to the arm now. So in terms of the arm, it definitely has some pretty insane stat right now. Armor wise is going to be really high, just melee attack all in all. Melee attack as well as melee defense is extremely high, but this one, keep that in mind, this is going to be bounded to an EX scoop base up here. And even if you want to look further into the future, if you're talking about after the version 3.2 update, where we have the ability after the 7-star system, for example, sub-slotting the same name so you can get, you know, different vortex or whatnot. This main problem, this one over here, is having EX skills, so it does kind of like restrict you in a way of like what you can do for your sub-slot, for example. So this is not going to be, like I said again, just not going to be good parts to be picking up. In terms of the EX skill, the palm of Honestine over here is not anything too special. We have seen this so many times in terms of just looking at the original Destiny. I believe the original Destiny does have this EX skill as well, so it is a pretty generic EX skill to be looking at, right? Yep, literally the same thing, right? Yeah, they put no effort into like these alternative, like, you know, like, look, this is like a build project and they couldn't even put in like a new effort, like some different type of EX skill, so why getting this one, right? So this one is gonna be another hot skill for sure. So moving on to, okay, so that's the stat for the armor there. So obviously really high, coming in at what, 13,000. It's pretty high, I gotta say. But now moving on to the leg. Let's see what the leg. The leg is a little bit better, just slightly higher than the Burning Gundam, and probably a lot more higher than, not as high as what we have, like, definitely, right? But in terms of the leg over here, work type wise, going to be close combat and high mobility. And that in terms of the portrait over here, we have a both a melee and EXP power boosted by 35%. So I am definitely praying the fact that they're not pumping out those 40% trade into these build project part over here. So that kind of alleviate a lot of like, oh, do I need this part because it's a 40% trade. So this one having a double 35%, it just, to me personally, I don't really have to go for this anymore, because if you wanted the same thing over here, you know, a 35% or even 40% trade, we can definitely look at, you know, options of, let's say, the only two right now we have in game is let me see. Let me do legs, and then I can just kind of filter out from here. The latest one, the best one to probably get is probably the Big Justice over here. Look, this is probably, you know, within the same line of like what the Destiny is trying to do right now. So this one is going to be like a high firepower, EXP boosted by 40%, and then another melee boosted by 40%. So if you do want a good leg, for example, definitely go for the Justice, for example, because this one is pumping out a 40% trade, and this one is also going to be a big skill. So big skill definitely plays into a big role in terms of, like, you know, stat gains and all that. So this is definitely a better part, 10 times better parts than what you can get from the S attribute Destiny, obviously. The next one you can be looking at is going to be, let me see, Lifelines is definitely a good option if I recall. The Lifelines also do have a 40% trade, but two restriction right there, locking you to infighter as well as using like a lance category melee weapon. This kind of place you into a bad restriction right there compared to the Justice. So that's why I'll probably go with the Justice over here. So in terms of the leg for the Destiny, it's gonna be a no-go again. So far all the parts we have been looking at, we do have the same portrait in game already. It's just what we have in terms of this one is slightly better stats, so it's not anything too spectacular so far right now. Alright, so now moving on to the backpack. So this is a backpack. I think it's already dethroned itself already, because if you take a look, we have the Escalabius right up top here. So in terms of Escalabius, it is pumping out another 40% trade for both. So this is definitely the part you want to be looking at. But we shall see what this one is doing. So this one's gonna be the Arcane Knife over here. So so this is not anything special at all. Like they didn't even put in the effort of, let's say, making this like an SS tier power. So I'm like, do I even need this? Obviously not. Just go for the regular one already, and this one you should be fine to go with already. You know, the same war tag in close combat and high mobility, so it's not anything too special. In terms of the best chest or the best melee backpack to be looking at nowadays, is definitely gonna be the Escaladius, if I can find it. I believe it's up here, right? This one over here. So this one's gonna be pumping out that 40% trait right there. So, you know, when using close combat, 40%, and then shot attack up by, or shot attack down by 20%, and then, you know, double melee power boosted by 40% is definitely a good option. So why go for the distance, right? So this is probably the one I would recommend if anyone is like wondering what is going to be the alternative right here. So that is going to be that. All right, so moving on to some melee weapons over here. So we do have a blade, so a sword slash a blade, because I think that's how they code it. I think they call it a blade instead of like a sword. So in terms of the story right now, we do see some incredibly high stat right now, coming at 13,195. So this is definitely so quite good part of the beginning. But if we do take a look at the portrait, I will have to say this one is definitely going to be a pretty restricted one to be using. This one, do keep that in mind, is a double melee power boosting. Okay, this one does want you to be using an S attribute, so that's your one restriction right there. Then having this one only to Outrider can be a problem as well. So this one is definitely not going to be a good choice. If you take a look at what kind of different options we may have personally, I feel like the best one to be looking at is definitely going to be this one over here. The Left Phantom, the Striker Cypher over here. This one is giving us a 40% trait right now. So this one is close combat, melee power boosted by 40%, EXQ power boosted by 40% right there. So this is definitely the best one to be looking at. I believe they also have the same words like close combat, high mobility. Is it? Okay. So yeah, you guys know what to do, right? So definitely go for the Love Phantom whenever it rolls back into like a pickup version of it. Yeah, same word tag, you know. So this is definitely not going to be a good option to be looking at. So moving on to the melee or the range weapon over here, a beam saber. In terms of the beam saber wise over here, you do pack some incredibly high melee attack on base right here, 26, 27. But if you're purely looking at the EX skill or the portrait right here, what is it? When high firepower charge boosted by 20%, or the initial charge boosted by 20%, and then EX skill power boosted by 35%. So if you want the exact same thing, same word tag, and then the same portrait, this is going to be the next option I am going to recommend you guys over here. That is going to be from the Double series, and that is going to be our friend Sword 3 rifle mode over here. So what is it? This one over here. Alright, so this is literally exactly the same thing, you know. I think this one probably may have a better future later on. This one, when you do translate a 40% up, it does translate really well from what I personally use, so it's not that bad. Same thing, so high firepower boosted by when you have high firepower, initial charge boosted by 20%, and then this over here, EXQ power boosted by 35%. Same word tag again. So look, we do have better options out there already, or not better options, but alternative option that are probably a lot more easier to just kind of get your hands on. For example, no mistake, Soka part is not easy to get, but definitely not, you don't have to spend what 15,000 and plus that what 1,500 for that Elber. So just some other options as well. In terms of shield, the shield is definitely a good option to me personally, just because it does have a better stat than let's say the one I'm going to be recommending again, the Cosmic Shield over here. So if you take a look, it is roughly about 1,000 off, like, but I will have to say the Cosmic Shield will still reign supreme over anything else, just because of the fact that it is giving like a extremely good set of portrait. So this one it is really good, obviously, right? You do have a buff EXQ boosted by, or buff EXQ up by 30%. But they kind of messed up. Like, they gave us like a buff EXQ time up by 30%. So this is, I don't want to call it like a bad option. Like, having like a longer duration of your buff effects is definitely good. So you can kind of like sustain whatever boosting you have, like to your ally, to yourself, and all that. So this is definitely a good option. But if you purely want to do like good damage, like all in all, I feel like this is not your option right here. So gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it to you guys once again. So we're gonna be taking a look at the infamous cost ratio over here. Like, nothing will beat this right here. Like, look at this. EXQ power boost by 30%, as well as the bump EXQ by 30%. Like, there's nothing to this day that can beat this currently. Like, this is probably right now the best one to be looking at. It's just the stat wise, it's a little bit on the low side, but then again, we are purely looking at this over here. And do keep that in mind. You can use this shield specifically on a melee build and a shooting build. So that's why this is probably your better option if you want a good shield or just similarity, for example. So all in all, Destiny, in terms of this right here, the build project, I would have to say none of the part is really worth getting unless you guys just purely want the stat that it's offering. All the other ones I have given you guys some, just more or less like what are some alternative or what are the similarities that we can find in terms of what we have in the roster currently. But with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it. Just in case anyone is wondering like what are some parts that you want to get for the Destiny, I'm just gonna have to say no, just because of the fact that we do have better alternatives already. So with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it, and then I'll catch you guys all on the next one.